There's no rhyme or reason to this situation. There's no blame apportioned to you. There's no way around it. There's a sure way through it. And your courage is guiding you. Whatever you've got to do, go on and do it. Whatever you've got to change, go on and change. We'll be there on the other side of it. You've got something more precious than gold. Love surrounds you. Love surrounds you. And we might push and we might shove, and we might take off the gloves and do whatever it takes to get this message through. That love surrounds you. Love surrounds you. There's a silver lining to every tear you're crying. There's a lesson in every fear. Hold your head up higher when you walk on the wire. Don't look down, we're holding you. Whatever you've got to do, go on and do it. Whatever you got to change, go ahead and change. We'll be there on the other side of it. And you've got something more precious than gold. Love surrounds you. Love surrounds you. And we might push and we might shove, and we might take off the gloves and do whatever it takes to get the message through. Because love surrounds you. Love surrounds you. Love surrounds you. Love surrounds
Good morning, everyone. I guess today is Saturday. And we
Good
may
morning.
only have our weekend is. So welcome to today's program, and we're going to explore the power to adjust. We also call it the power to accommodate. So yeah, Sister Belinda.
So good morning, everyone. Hello, sisters.
Hello.
Yeah, whenever I think of this particular power, the image of the palm tree always comes to mind. And I know we don't have palm trees in all places in Africa, but in some places we do. And it's the most extraordinary tree because it withstands hurricanes, tornadoes, all sorts of things. And all because it has this incredible capacity and ability to bend under the storm. And so when the storm passes, it actually is able to right itself and come back to its position. Whereas another tree, more rigid, would actually break under the onslaught of the storm. And so what is it that enables us to be like the palm tree? And certain qualities come to mind. And one of them we've actually touched on in these sessions before. And that is acceptance. Acceptance of what is. Resistance is a force, not a power. And I found that in times where I have resisted situations, people, many different things, then it is more likely that I will experience pain and sorrow through that. So for me, I always check, what am I resisting? Because that resistance is like the rigid tree that can break. And so how can I, if there is resistance, what can I do to change that? And for me, the opposite of that force is gentleness and kindness, especially for the self, but also for the situation at hand, to come at it in a way that is gentle, because when it's gentle, it can be molded, it can be transformed and changed. So just shifting that energy of resistance, which is like a force, and softening that and molding myself internally so that I can come into that space of acceptance.
Sister Fatima, are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you see me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. Sister Belinda, that was a beautiful unpacking of this power. Because what came to my mind was the bamboo, being flexible. And at the same time, being adaptable. That was what was coming to my mind as you were talking. That ability to adapt to situations as they come. And it's not an easy thing, for most of us. But spiritually, when you begin to, physically, at work, in businesses and stuff like that, we have to adjust to situations. We have to learn to adjust to situations as they come in life. But on a spiritual level also, it's very important to have that ability to adjust to situations without causing yourself a lot of pain and sorrow. And I really, really appreciated the way you unpacked the whole thing this morning. Thank you very much.
So I think taking from the image of the bamboo, what I understand is that, before a bamboo tree can grow, even though it takes a very short time to grow out into the open sky, it takes years for the bamboo roots to actually implant themselves into the ground. And as a result of that, they're so deeply rooted that they can grow to any heights. And yes, any wind or anything that blows, bamboos are always swaying, but they never get uprooted because their roots are so firmly embedded. And so in looking at the power to adjust, it's really when I'm with old people, I can, or people who are senior or have a very specific way in which they function, I am able to know their needs and actually be able to, in a way, accommodate them. And at the same time, I may have my own positioning, but if I'm working with kids or children or people who have certain needs that may not actually be similar to mine, but I can leave aside what I know and go to a level that actually will allow myself to connect with them so that actually they can be a rapport. And I think that we can only do that when we actually don't feel that how we are seen is actually our identity. What is evident in our personality is that we have a deep-rooted faith in our purity of heart, our cleanliness of being, that actually we can go onto the floor and wipe, we can reach up to the sky, you can do different things so that your physical actions don't actually determine who you are. And I think that's, for me, where the power to adjust comes in, that we don't, some people have a demeanor that they carry with them, and that's their identity, and they don't shift from that, but it's still a very physical poise, a very physical positioning. And to know that what should, for me, is important is that my heart space doesn't change in terms of care and well-being for an individual, for their growth, for their support. And for that, it means different things needs to be done at different times. And I love that when we are clear what it is that I am meant to be, and I can see myself being that, then I can actually shift from action to action without actually internally jeopardizing my self-respect or my sense of being.
Yes, and while you're talking, I'm just thinking of an area where sometimes we really get challenged to be able to flow like that. And that is when we face change. And we know that the one constant about the world we live in is, in fact, change. But on a daily basis, we are being asked to shift and change the way that we live our lives. In the last almost 18 months now, we've had to adopt enormous changes in our behavior, in our interaction with each other. It's a very different world to what it was just 18 months ago. So to what extent am I actually able to use that power to adjust and to be flexible? And it's so important, because if we don't, it comes back to this thing of resisting. and ultimately the resisting brings that pain and suffering. You know, I look at the world at the moment, and you know, people are tired of this pandemic. They want it just to be over, and yet, you know, it is very persistent, and we cannot even say that 6 months from now or a year from now it's going to be different. So it's such a good example for us to check ourselves and really see, you know, have we been able to make that inner adjustment and to deeply accept the change that we've had to make, so that, you know, we don't reach a breaking point. I think that is so important. And, you know, lots of people are struggling mentally and emotionally because they reach that breaking point. So what can we do for ourselves at a deep internal level to be so resilient and to be able to flow, as Sister Usha mentioned, with whatever change comes our way, without feeling that we are reaching that point of breaking?
As you were talking, what was coming to my mind was, especially when you made the example of the endemic that we have now, the COVID-19 situation that we're having now, which in a way does not work with us in that we don't know when it's going to end. And we don't really understand it as much as we would love to.
Mm.
And you find that the mask becomes very important, you know, to keep the mask on. And a lot of people, because they're not seeing the impact of the situation directly or immediately, have kind of like lost that hope and stopped wearing masks and everything like that. Whereas situations of this nature ask of you to focus, and not to focus on the negativity of the situation, but focus on the possibilities that the situation brings to you. And one, for me personally, I'll still use the mask, you know, like if you put the mask on, you're focusing on something that will help you, not to give out the disease if you have it, or get it from outside if you don't. You know, and all the other safety measures that have been given to us physically. And so what comes to mind is that, because when we get into those situations, we even lose that focus. And so I think focusing for me at this point in time is what is going to help us a lot, to focus on the way to get out of the situation and put your energies into that.
So I'm thinking that because Sister Belinda left us with a question, I'm just thinking that if we take wisdom from the roots of the bamboo tree and just do that inner work of just going deep inside and making our support that which is eternal, taking our power from that which is not a short-term glory. Because if you think of the roots, they really don't see the sunlight. No one goes to the botanical gardens and say, oh, the roots of this tree must be so beautiful. They'll only look up above and say, oh, that bamboo tree looks phenomenal. And so can we actually renounce, and I'm using the word renounce in a very powerful way, to really renounce any name, fame, any deep sense of value that we get from the accolades of having achieved things from an external level. And when I let go of that kind of limited kind of achievements, but work very deeply, sincerely on making sure that I have value for who I am. I have trust in the relationship that I have with the divine. And as a result of those two things, I'm working deeply and working strongly on what it is that will actually give me the resilience, will give me the power that whatever's happening outside actually will not throw me or uproot me.
Yeah, you're also coming back to Sister Fatima's point about focus and how that keeps us so well grounded, especially in turbulent times. And of course, it's nourishing the roots that make the roots strong, and that's really our spiritual journey. Is to nourish our spiritual roots, which is our truth, actually, and to make that very strong, because this illusion of control is such a challenge for us, because we desperately try to control our environment, control the things that are happening around us, even control ourselves. But certainly when it comes to the external world, there are only certain things that we can do to control things, and that is very superficial. And we've seen that with the pandemic especially, so much beyond our control. But like Sister Fatima mentioned, the things we can do are the small things within our control. And this applies to life, actually. That can I, with my spiritual strength and resilience, apply myself to the small things? Because just like feeding the roots grow the tree very powerfully, in the same way, feeding our spiritual roots grow us in a very beautiful, powerful way. And that's really what often we feel is lacking, is that we know how we want to be in the world. Nobody has to tell you what kind of person you want to be. That sometimes what is lacking is that power. And so important to nourish our spirituality, because that is ultimately the only root that we have, because it is our eternal truth.
So maybe just a couple of things that we can actually look at in terms of an image that I wanted to create. The founder of our organization, who we call Brahma Baba, he was quite a tall man. And what used to be so amazing is that because he was the head of the organization, people would come to him and they all wanted to meet the head of the organization. And he had that way and that presence in which he would just we meet people and they'd get the satisfaction. And then if there was kids, Baba, we called him Baba by a very fond name, in a sense, to say father, was very happy to go down on his knees and reach down to the children and meet them on their level, so that they never felt that they were looking up to this tall man. And I think that especially when we get into positions of leadership where the parents, or where we are in any authority, the best way in which to make connection is to not think that when I bend down, I'm losing my role, but actually to know that actually I'm reaching out to people. And I think that we can only reach out to people to give them a hand is when we actually feel stable inside. So I would say today, as we look at this power to be flexible or to adjust, we can only really ask of ourselves to change when we ourselves have a deep sense of security. So there's one thing that I feel was quite a beautiful thing, because we use the word self-respect very often. But do you value the self? And we can ask ourselves this question: to what extent do I value who I am? And I think there's lots of treasures that comes through. The vibrations from that one thing will make you see that when you bring that value back to yourself, you can reach out to a lot, and to a lot of people, and to the environment. Nothing is too little. So good practice, I would say, to make this power part of your life.
Seems like a good place for you to do some commentary for us, Sister Usha.
Okay, I was wondering if it was my turn. So I'm going to invite you to take, first of all, let's just take a deep breath and bring ourselves into the space. And as I become present in this moment, let me also bring myself very clearly in front of my mind's eye, so that I have a very clear vision of who I am. Not only the vision of the physical eyes, but the insight to truly know my real self. And as I bring myself under this microscope to really examine and to see the different facets of my real self, it is at this point that I can really appreciate and let go of the opinions, the ideas, the thinking of others about me. Is a powerful step to really close the doors of outside opinions, perceptions, and really tune within. And in that space within, I have a beautiful microscope in the form of my Supreme Parent, who has the absolute truth about me, actually has the DNA that actually makes me. And so today, let me spend some time looking through this microscope and exploring my beautiful inner treasures, my gifts of peace, of truth, of love, of being authentic, of being happy, being blissful, being wise, and being powerful. Let me spend some time today really looking at these treasures. And as my attention falls on these beautiful treasures, the attention I give them becomes the power for them to shine. Let me continue to hold my attention inward, and from that point of safety, let me glow and shine and allow the beauty that is inside this being to reach out in all dimensions. And as I reach out in all dimensions with these beautiful vibrations, I myself find myself floating in an ocean of peace, of love, of happiness, of joy. I am peace, and I am surrounded by peace. I am love, and I am surrounded by love. And as I spend some of the time today exploring the different qualities, I allow myself to drink of this power to strengthen my inner being. And in this way, ready for any change. Om Shanti.
Shanti.
So the power to adjust, it's really an attitude of being flexible with clear insight of my inherent potential. I break away from limited molds that restrict me. I keep my vision on the designer of divinity and my own divine design. I live with courage to reach out at the cost of my own comfort, generosity to let go, to let others go ahead, faith that everything is accurate and perfect, trust to let go and grow. So have a lovely day and enjoy your, well, I'll see you tomorrow. So can't say rest of the weekend, but do enjoy your day. And for those I see who missed out any sessions, there's a WhatsApp chat, but you can also register on our YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and everything is actually loaded on there, so you can catch up on any missing slots as well. Okay, sisters, brothers, have a beautiful day.
Thank you, Sister Usha, for the beautiful session and a blissful meditation. Have a lovely day. See you tomorrow.
Thank you, everyone.
Om Shanti.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Great
Bye.
weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you to all the sisters. Missed your session yesterday due to load shedding. We'll catch up on YouTube. Take care. Till tomorrow.
Okay, ciao. Bye, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you. Shanti. Have a good
Thank you,
day.
sisters. Om Shanti. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.